everybody. My name is Stuart Schlossman. I do have multiple sclerosis. That's why I do all this for all of you. We have 3 speakers here today. We have Lisa Gonzalez Goetz. She's a disability attorney. She's going to be speaking primarily about SSDI. If you have questions about SSI, she can answer those questions for you as well. Lisa's going to speak for about 35 minutes. Then we're going to do a Q&A with Lisa. Following Lisa, Mitzi Williams is going to be here to speak with you. She's going to speak for about 40 minutes. After Mitzi speaks, Dr. Thrower will speak. And he's here nice and early. We did some interviews with him earlier today. So after Dr. Thrower speaks, we're going to do a Q&A for both Dr. Williams and Dr. Thrower. So let's get started. Lisa. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Gonzalez Goetz. I am originally from Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico, born and raised. I went to the University of Florida undergrad and Temple Law School. There you go, Gators. Go Gators. I have 2 right now. So I come to MS speaking for Stu because it's something very close and dear to my heart, and it's something that comes very naturally to me. I've been doing Social Security Disability law since law school. Since 1992, my practice is exclusively devoted to clients going against the government, against the Social Security Disability Administration. And I say against because it's a long haul for clients. It's a long haul for any patient that's been diagnosed with MS. You have a lot of time of impairments before you actually get the diagnosis. So it's an esoteric disease. It's objectified, and you can find it in MRIs, and you can find it with specialists, but it takes a long time before you get to the right course of treatment. So we see cases sometimes, as an example, somebody who's had very bad colitis or stomach problems, and they've been diagnosed with anxiety, and they've been diagnosed with and given all these medications for the anxiety or depression or things, and they don't know what's going on with them. Then they go to GI specialists, and it all started with bad flora in their stomach, and it created all these issues that are now MS. And longitudinally, it could be 5 or 6 years of people really suffering. So, and it happens not just with the stomach, as anybody here would know, but Social Security does not necessarily know that it could happen with all kinds of symptoms. So the symptomatology is what disables you. It is not the impairment or the diagnosis that impairs you. Okay? So that's really important for anybody to know, because a lot of people say, I have MS, I'm entitled to benefits, and it doesn't really necessarily work that way. Like with any impairment, it really is how you as an individual are affected by the impairment and what it precludes you from doing. So I'm going to change my approach to my speaking, because normally and there are a lot of YouTube videos on information on how the government works, how the system works, but I really wanted to focus in on a couple of the issues and changes that are happening today. So my first question is, how many people here are on disability benefits currently? Okay, and how many people here are applying for disability benefits? And how many people here have Medicare? And with the Part A and the Part B? And with the prescription for Medicare? Does anybody have Medicare without the prescriptions? Okay, so the practice is evolving, and as you can see from the questions from Medicare, it's evolving from more than just obtaining Social Security benefits, but now that you obtain it, what does that mean? What do I do with it? And what entitlements do I have? A lot of insurance companies with this Medicare Advantage planning are giving subsidies, which is actually reducing the amount of money that the government takes for your Medicare Part B plan. So these are other added issues that whether or not you are on benefits, it's important to know. So with the exception of one person who's currently applying for benefits, I'm going to talk about that very quickly. And then we're going to talk about the issues that are arising, because I think those are more important for this particular audience. So when you apply for benefits, it's a very long process. It's a process that has a lot of denials along the way. And one of the things that I'm actually advising to clients now is, before you apply, you need to think about things a little bit more thorough, okay? The definition of disability is 12 months or more of no work activity, okay? And that has a lot of trapdoors and a lot of pitfalls. But in Georgia right now, how many people here saw the article from it was on TV, it was Fox, I think it was, that Fox 5 reported in 2015 the delays of Social Security. Did you all see that? Okay, so when that happened, and it brought a lot of attention to Georgia and the North Atlanta area, there was a knee-jerk reaction, and that opened up 2 more offices for hearings. So the process was sped from 3.5 years of a wait to 2.5 years of a wait. It still sounds like a lot, but they did speed it up by 1 year by opening 2 more offices. Now the trend is changing again, and the delays in Georgia are being seen again. And one of the offices that opened up because of that advertisement has closed. We don't know if it's going to open up again. That one is the one in Marietta. Okay, so Covington remains open. So you can see that before you even start the process, you know that there's going to be delays. So I put together a list at what you should do before applying, or if anybody knows anybody that is applying. Really, do you want this? Do you really want to apply for benefits? Are you really not able to work? Have you used all medical treatment resources to help you stabilize? And with that stabilization, are you able to qualify for ADA accommodations at work? Because of these delays, you want to make sure that you exhaust all remedies. If you find that, yes, you are not able to work and you have exhausted all medical remedies and all accommodations at work, then the question is, how am I going to survive with no income for 2.5 years? I have people that are losing their home, they're losing their life, they're losing their spousal support, their family, and they expect or think that we can make changes and speed cases up. And with the very few exceptions, we're not able to do that. Okay, especially in this political atmosphere. So if you do decide that you've exhausted everything, you're going forward and you're saying, okay, I need to apply for benefits, gather your family, gather your friends, and my suggestion is to start saving money, talk to your family, get help from everybody around you, make sure everybody's on board, because you don't want to be in a situation where your house is up for foreclosure. If you need to sell it, you sell it and you prepare, okay? And there's a lot of issues with SSI. And the difference between SSI and Social Security Disability is entitlement based on whether or not you worked and you paid into the system. So these answers you need to ask an attorney about. You need to make sure you know how that's going to affect eligibility. If you have a retirement plan, you don't need to cash it out if you're going to apply for benefits. The retirement plan, again, get information, because that retirement plan, even though you feel pressure from creditors that you need to pay back and you have this money there, that money is judgment proof. So get educated. This is all part of preparing yourself before you apply, so that you're not in a position where you really are losing everything and you're just being reactive as opposed to responsive and as opposed to prepared. And if you're in a situation where you have 401ks, you need advice for that before you file for bankruptcy. And if you have a situation where you're in dire need, your congressman can help you. So this is all things that you kind of spin around your head. If you have a social worker, caseworker, a person that you know is going to be applying, newly diagnosed, this is information that's really, really a golden nugget to have. You really want to know this. You want to be able to help as many people as you can and inform them. So preparation when you're dealing with Social Security, do you really need to do this now? Really very important. Georgia, right now it's the 4th longest wait, this state, okay? From the bottom up, the 4th longest. It's taking nearly 500 days, okay, just to get a hearing in front of a judge. So it is taking 2.5 years to 3 years of somebody that's going to be projected of applying for benefits, getting denied, appealing those benefits, getting denied, receiving probably 16 questionnaires from Social Security, giving you 10 days to complete pages of information. And if you don't send it in timely, then they can turn around and say you're not really cooperating with them. So somehow that has a deadline of 10 days, and that one gets reported right away, but when they delayed, there's nothing that you can do. We talked about the new judges that were assigned to Georgia for these offices. I don't know what's happening now with the office that closed and with the judges, but I do know that contacting congressmen, contacting senators does make a difference. These hearings are in private offices, small hearing rooms, not open to the public to protect your privacy. But what happens is that because they're so insular, the public doesn't know. And so nobody is pushing Congress, nobody is making changes, and it's a very archaic system of law, okay? So that's kind of a backdrop. The YouTube videos that I have talk a lot about the process and the earning and the delays and the levels of appeal, and specifically what do you need to show for disability. But because this is a smaller group and most people are already on benefits, I wanted to talk about the current trends because I think it's really important. We have a current political system where immigration was changed overnight, where the tax code was changed overnight. Nobody's really talking about Social Security, but we have to anticipate that they're going to be coming with some real big changes, okay? And how that affects each of us, we don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. But currently, they are doing investigations, okay? They're called CDI investigations. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to catch you doing things functionally that will disqualify you from your Social Security eligibility. What does that mean? They want to cut your benefits. They want to get you off the books. Okay? How are they doing that? They're doing that a number of ways, and I see this weekly in courts. There's some judges that are making it their business, their life, to do this, while there are other judges that never do this. There is information on any particular judges or any particular offices online. There are a lot of great private citizens that are very socially advanced with technology, and they do keep track of it. So I would suggest anybody look online for your particular zip code and your offices and see how they track it, because people now can do blogs and can do stories and can put a lot of information there on social media. However, one of the ways that they do terminate your benefits is through social media. Okay? Facebook. Don't participate in Facebook. Putting your information in taking pictures, getting tagged when you don't even know you're tagged from people that are well-meaning and care for you in a wedding, in a social event. It shows on a vacation, okay? They're looking for that. And I can tell you that weekly it comes up. So now, on top of preparing their medical records and reviewing everything the doctors say, now we have somebody in our office reviewing their social media profile. Because we need to anticipate what's going to happen. What has that judge seen? If that's a judge that is going to look at it, where have you been? And everybody likes to tell me about their woes, but nobody told me that they took a cruise, or that their cousin got married, or that they celebrated New Year's at their aunt's house. And that creates a big, big, big issue, okay? Because that's fair game. That's fair game for them. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, not so much, because I think that deletes itself. Unless you have a story, which you shouldn't have. LinkedIn is a huge issue. People somehow get connected through LinkedIn, and you click and you accept people, and it shows that you are recent, quote unquote, in your work activity. Okay? That will take you off Social Security benefits. You can get a letter within 10 days, and it's fair game. Okay? LinkedIn also shows your volunteering work. I volunteered at the church or at my daughter's school. Don't put it on. Turn all social media off. And I'm being recorded saying this, so I'm going out on a limb. But I will tell you that it is happening on a weekly basis, and I believe it will happen on a daily basis. Somehow people put it in. Facebook is important because that's where it's not even done by you, it's done by somebody next to you, and you get tagged. So social media, huge issue of cessation benefits. If you get a letter that they're going to discontinue your benefits, you only have 10 days, not work days, 10 days in which to make an appeal of that and continue getting your benefits. If you don't appeal it within 10 days, a cessation, your benefits will stop. If you appeal it and you continue receiving your money, and then subsequently you lose your case, you owe that money back to the government, and you will be charged with an overpayment. And if you appeal it after 10 days and you don't get the money and you win the case, that money will come back to you. But you could see the headaches that are just going to, it's like a snowball effect. From one click on Instagram or in Facebook or on LinkedIn to now you have no benefits, you can't see your doctor, the stress has prevented you from stabilizing and you have continued to deteriorate, you're not going to be doing well. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of social media. Okay, it's very good to use it to help you find out what the numbers are, find out what the trends are, find out what's going on, but don't put public information in. We tell children not to do it, but we ourselves do it. So that would be my first red flag. Secondly, people that are on benefits now, how many are getting a direct deposit check? How many are using an electronic benefit card? Okay, so some people have no bank accounts, and so what the government is doing, and we have one here, but what they're doing is they're giving you, it's almost like a debit card, okay? I'm glad to hear that only one has it, and the one person that has an electronic benefit card, please know that your purchases are being tracked. Every purchase that's being tracked is also tracking you by video. which means that whenever you go into a store and you swipe that card, somehow the government is able to know when you entered the store, take the video of you coming in alone, whether or not you have a walker or cane, whether you have difficulty lifting, bending, carrying, grabbing, all that will disqualify you for benefits, okay? We're seeing this, again, some judges are much more interested in this and they devote their time to this, so that's how we know this, okay? So your purchases are tracked, you're surveyed on camera, and it shows that you are functional. What it doesn't show is whether or not, which is one of the points of contention we've had at the hearings, you come in, it doesn't show whether or not somebody drove you there and whether or not somebody's waiting for you outside. They're taking a snapshot of you coming in, and they're going to say you're able to function independently, shop, walk, lift, carry, bend, push, pull, pay. You can functionally be maybe a caretaker for an elder person and do light grocery shopping for them. That's work, that disqualifies you. So the preferred method, I think, as an attorney, I would always advise direct deposit. Anybody you know on an electronic benefits card, be aware that this is a trend that is happening. Another thing that's a really big problem is earned income credit. Does anybody know what that is? Okay, so it started, I think, a few years ago, maybe more than 4, where if you went to a tax preparer and you claimed some self-employment, you would get back some money from the IRS. Okay? So a lot of tax preparers, notice I'm not saying CPAs. CPAs would lose their license. But tax preparers would go to you and you would tell all your children about it and your neighbors about it. This is awesome. If I babysat my grandchildren and I did a couple things here and there, all of a sudden I can sign this and I'm going to get a check of $3,000 back. Okay? Sounds really simple, but it is fraud. And there are several people enough people for me to be talking about it, that will do this, and then they get to a hearing in front of a judge, and the judge says, well, you've worked, you've paid money, and you're not disabled. And they'll go, well, I didn't work, I don't know why that's showing earnings, and now you have a bigger problem because now you don't get your benefits and you have the IRS on top of you. Okay, there's a reason for it. A lot of times just going through the process takes so long that it is something that we all feel like it's a survival, but it does impair your ability to get benefits. And so earned income credit, stay away from any tax preparer, stay away, don't sign your name to anything because it'll come back to haunt you. And people are doing this even on disability benefits. So those $3,000 will turn around and take you off benefits. You'll have an overpayment. You will be hassled about fraud. I don't know if the IRS will come in actually for you, but who wants that over their head? So just things to think about. Those are the biggest trends right now. Every election period, there are new trends. And I don't mean this in terms of being political. I'm just letting you know because in the past it was people that were residences, and the laws changed on residency and obtaining benefits if you were not a citizen. So every 4 years or every 8 years, we'll see some changes. And we're just really early on, so I don't know what the changes are going to be. Of course, I'm plugging MS Views and News, and I'm plugging Stu, and I'm letting you know these programs are really informative. Keep track of them. Keep learning about it. If you are taking information from social media. That's okay. It's just the giving of information that you should not do. Okay? So I can go on and on about my war stories and going into court and federal court and some trends that are happening with that, but I think that for this morning's purposes, it's really trying to answer questions that'll be more helpful to you individually, to get you through maybe issues that have happened, maybe concerns that you think you know, something may have resonated with you. So I'm going to open it up to some Q&As a little earlier, because I find that one of the most important things is engaging on how does Social Security affect me individually. And if I think that it's a more sophisticated answer or an answer that's more private, then I'll be here afterwards to answer any questions. And for anybody watching, all my information is also out there. So I'm always available, okay, through email, through phone. It's like a very close-knit family, so we all help each other out, okay? Okay, so one of the questions, I guess the question is really if you are on social media and your setting is for privacy and nobody can get on your account other than your friend. What about that? Okay, so I can tell you from my perspective, and I can tell you that Facebook recently has been in the Senate congressional hearings about what privacy really is. So as far as I know, I tell my children, and this is a great barometer, if you have it out there, it ain't private. Okay? So my suggestion would be that if you're going to go on Facebook, regardless of the privacy settings, because I don't know enough about it, I think anybody can attach to a friend, and before you know it, the web carries a lot of people that you may not know have access. Shopping patterns are kept on that. The ability to know where you've been. And what I emphasize is being tagged by people when you don't even really know that you were tagged or you didn't even know that picture was taken. So I would just ask you, is it important enough for you to see your name up there in Facebook? You know, that would be my answer. So, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm a person who's over 65, so my benefits switched from disability to regular Social Security. Is there anything that I need to worry about other than Paul Ryan?
He's a nice guy, even though I politically don't agree with him. Just putting that out there, but he was a nice guy when I met him. Okay, so this is my answer to you. If you are over 65, the question becomes more specific. How much over 65 are you? Because the retirement laws are changing. Okay? So as it stands now, because Social Security is so archaic, I would say you don't have anything to worry about. Okay? However, there are things that I didn't know we had to worry about a year ago or 6 months ago that are now a concern. So I would say if you are over 65 and you volunteer your time, I would be aware of how many hours you are volunteering, because that may be considered something down the line. If there is any work that you do over 65, once you've switched out of that program, be aware that that may become a concern, and how much money you earn or how many hours you put in may become a concern. Okay? You're welcome.
My question is, if in the process of applying for Social Security for disability, do they go through the process of investigation at the same way they do once you get benefits?
Yes, this investigation is for everybody.
So once you start applying for it, they go through the process of investigating it. Okay, thank you.
Yes, what happens is when you file for disability, you have your initial application at your local district office, right? And then that gets sent to the Office of Disability Determination Services. And they go ahead, and now that's called ODD, and they go ahead and they ask you more questions about your family, your friends, who helps you, and then they send questionnaires to them also. And that spider web starts going, trying to make sure that not just what you say is true or what your doctors say is true, but that your family and support group also see the same impairments. And I don't know if the questionnaire has particularly whether or not you are on what particular social media, but after a while, those questions start giving answers that create more investigation. So initially, when you apply and when you get rejected and you appeal it initially at those lower levels, the questions are a little more contained to the answers that you have provided, okay? And then, like I said, everything is a little more subjective, and it's based on how overzealous that particular person developing your case becomes. So one of the things that does not apply to most of you because you've already filed, one of the things I try to do is keep you out of even walking into the Social Security office and doing the application online, because if you go in, there is a box for a Social Security employee to write observations on, and how you appear and whether you have high heels or makeup or how you dressed. Those things are fair game. And I have seen on some remote offices, I have seen remarks where Social Security employee will follow to see if you said you didn't drive, but you got in that car and drove. Okay? So I try to keep you as far out as you can from that kind of investigation. But it is aware at every stage. I don't know that I have seen documentation yet at lower levels with social media, but if I'm going on every client's social media prior to a hearing, I'm assuming that Social Security is doing the same. Okay.
This is my question. Is the state-run benefit the same as Social Security or SSI? Is there a difference in the two? Because I'm just trying to be very careful not to cross the line with either one. What was worthless at one point before may now be worth something that you own.
Right.
How can you avoid this trap?
Okay. So when you say the word disability, there's so much disability out there. There's VA, which is a percentage of disability. There is long-term and short-term disability, private, contractually available disability policies. There are pensions through the state of disability. There is workers' compensation that designates a percentage of disability. With Social Security, it's 100% or zero. There's no percentage. So when you say state-run, there's a couple of answers. The first one is that as a state-run disability program, that may be through being an employee of the state as a pension. And that's separate and apart from Social Security Disability, which is a federal program. However, Social Security Disability, it's never an easy answer, has several different types of disability within that program. If you've worked and put money into the system, you qualify under Title II, which is a disability insurance benefit program. You're insured based on the amount of money you put in. Then there's SSI, which is a Title 16 program, which is for people that either have worked very little and the money doesn't bring them above the poverty level, or have not worked at all and qualify for SSI benefits. So for that, you have to show you're disabled, and you also have to show that you're financially indigent. And that's based on Congress, and that's put every year, and that will entitle you, as an example, under that program, you qualify for Medicaid, as opposed to Medicare. So and that one is the federal government paying back the state. So there's always some kind of a relationship, but it depends on the individual program. And if you need an actual lesson, I can certify you on it, but if you need a particular answer to your question, I'll be happy to talk to you afterwards.
Next question over here.
My question is, will they still be doing reviews ever so like periodically, and exclusive as well as the videos as well?
Okay.
Do you understand my question?
When do they stop reviewing your Social Security?
You know how, like, when you first get on, they say it's a possibility you could be reviewed within 5 years' time. After you've been on it, so within the 5-year time frame, you could be evaluated. So I'm trying to see, they will be doing both, the video as well as the review, or are they going to just exclude it for the review?
Anything is fair game. Anything is fair game as long as you're receiving benefits from the federal government. So it used to be that they were reviewing you every 3 to 5 years, okay? And it used to be that, I would say, 23, 24 years ago, okay? 25 years ago. Then about 16 years ago, they started reviewing people much sooner, much sooner. And they were reviewing people 18 to 24 months out of receiving benefits. And during that time, they were only reviewing people under age 54. More recently, about 6 years ago, they were reviewing people that were 58 years old. Okay? So I don't really have an answer to that, but I will tell you that as long as you're receiving something that they're giving, they can decide that you have medically improved and that you're no longer disabled.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions on this side of the room? Great. Clusters.
Is there a limit to, or are you able to save money? Like,
It depends
say if
on
you
the
get
type.
X amount of money per month and you say, oh, I'm going to save $100 out of my check each month. Can you do that?
Absolutely, if you're receiving Title II benefits, if you're not receiving any SSI. So for Title II benefits, you have to have worked and paid 5 out of the last 10 years of FICA taxes, Social Security, and you receive benefits based on the money you put into the system. And then you can save, because that amount of money varies based on how much you paid into the system. Okay? If you're on SSI, and I'm going to tell you a real case scenario, baby born, based on a medical malpractice, baby's blind, automatically qualifies for Social Security, SSI benefits. Benefits were given, but the parents didn't use the money given. They were charged with a huge overpayment because they saved that money. Had that money been put into a special needs trust and the baby had no access to it, would have qualified. So it depends. That's a very specific question, whether or not you can save money based on Social Security. It depends on what kind of benefits you're receiving.
Yeah, and then if you have children that are receiving benefits as well.
Children receive under your family max. So if you're in the situation where your children are receiving benefits because of your disability, then you are automatically not going to have a problem. You can save money. Because SSI is for the individual, because it's a welfare-based program. It's for the individual. Whereas Social Security disability income that you paid into is for the family because it's insurance benefits. So for you in this particular scenario, you're fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so my question is, when receiving Social Security disability, if you have more challenges, let's say with cognition, that they can't see, how do they determine that you're disqualified in any case if you, like I said, have challenges with the cognition?
Is what you're trying to say, and I don't want to put words, are you asking me, how do you become better? How do they find a way to deny you?
Right.
Okay. So when you have an impairment and you have a diagnosis, you're given benefits for that. Sometimes you stabilize, but you continue to have the problems. The way that it happens on a review where you get your benefits taken away is because you stop going to doctors. You stop taking medication. You are showing functionally, even though you have a problem with cognition, you are able to do several things that can be translated into income. See what I'm saying? So as long as you continue with your healthcare provider, you have your medications, you continue to complain, you're going to be fine. If they ever ask you to review, the first step of a review is asking you for your medical provider so that they can request the records and look at them. If those records don't exist, boom. If those records exist but show that you are not compliant, you're out. If those records exist and show that you're traveling and you're okay, you're out. But if those records show consistent treatment, consistent objective and subjective findings, you're okay. Because the denial on your current benefits is very specific. It's whether or not there's been medical improvement. And medical improvement happens when you stop going to doctors.
If you're applying for Social Security Disability and you're just almost at retirement age from your, let's say, your state-funded job, how does that go about? And still taking almost 2 years to get the process implemented.
So individuals between the age of 62 and 65 that are applying for benefits are still expected to take the same amount of time. Sometimes, because of vocational relevant factors, those cases may be sped up. When you receive benefits at the age of 62, you're receiving 80%, right? When you receive benefits based on Social Security, you're going to receive 100%. So if you are receiving benefits during that window of time of 80%, your retroactivity, if you were to win your disability, is that 20% difference for life.
In the event that you should come into a large amount of money, how does that affect your disability if you are quote unquote already on disability?
Okay, so the question is, how does it affect you if you come into a large amount of money at the time that you're receiving Social Security disability benefits? The answer is, again, it depends on what kind of Social Security disability benefits you're receiving. If you are receiving welfare-based benefits, SSI, those benefits require the poverty level and no more than $2,000 total resources. That would disqualify you from benefits. You will have your Medicaid cut off. You will have no benefits. You will have, of course, as long as you have that money, you could be 100% disabled, but not entitled to benefits as long as your resources exceed $2,000 total, with the exception of one car, one home. Okay? If you are receiving benefits that are based on the work that you put into the system, then any amounts of money you receive will not be affecting your decision. However, Social Security will then want to know, well, why did you get this sum of money? Did you reinstate your real estate license, make a big killing, and is that work? Or did you have a car accident and receive a settlement, and they could ask whether you were driving and you say you weren't driving. So there's a lot of things, but just based on the money alone, if you paid money into the system, that does not discontinue your benefits.
Now, is there any limitations on how long you have been putting into the system? I've been working since 1974, 75, so I've paid into the system for that long period, and I still work full time. So is there any limitations on how much, or is there like a limit on how much you can?
You have to make sure that you're entitled and that you have enough quarters of coverage, okay? And you want to make sure that you have 20 out of 40 quarters of coverage. It's something that Social Security can give you a printout of every penny you ever paid into the system. However, an easy rule of thumb is, I became disabled today. Have I worked 5 out of the last 10 years? That pretty much sums it up without interruptions. Then you have issues with interruptions. But in general, that's a rule of thumb. 5 out of the last 10 years. And if you don't know the answer, Social Security will run a printout.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Does it affect the ticket to work that was in place, or is that being done away with?
The ticket to work. So nationwide, individuals are given benefits based on their ability to try to work and do the ticket to work. And so we have a lot of people that are on benefits and are working, or people that are applying and are working because of the Ticket to Work program. The Ticket to Work program is an incentive to get people to do some kind of work. The question is, how successful are you on this Ticket to Work? If you're able to work successfully, then you don't qualify for benefits. It does affect you. If you are working, but your numbers are very low, in terms of how much money you receive, you're okay. If, however, more hours open up and they're giving them or offering them to you, that's fair game to see whether or not you're able to do it, or whether or not you're saying you don't want to do it because you don't want to raise the bar of the money. So the question is not the money as much as, and it can be the money, but in general with a Ticket to Work, the question is, how much are you able to do on a consistent basis, 40 hours a week consistently. And that's the definition of substantial gainful work activity. So the Ticket to Work normally is much lower than that, so we don't concern ourselves, but sometimes you have a superstar employee or a person who really wants to keep those hours up, and then it will become a concern.
Concerning the Ticket to Work program, I know people that have told me that they get it in the mail and they're afraid to even respond, so they just throw it out saying, who's to prove that they even received it? So is there something that Social Security is monitoring of people not responding to the postal mailing that they're sending out?
No. Social Security is only reacting at this time to the Ticket to Work based on people that are actually on the Ticket to Work. So they are not responding and actively searching for people who have gotten Ticket to Work and are choosing not to open their mail.
What if you decide to do work from home, like on your computer, and this company, get you to work from home? Does that play in it?
So if you can do my brochures and my business cards from home, I will pay you, and that's a job. Yes, it will affect. If from home you can stare at a TV monitor and you're able to consistently look at it and see whether something happens in a parking lot, and if something does happen, pick up the phone and call 911, that's a surveillance video monitor, that's a job. If from home you can do things that will bring you in income, that is work. No different than work anywhere else. The question is, can you do it 40 hours consistently, giving you an income? If the answer is yes, you are working, whether it's at home or not at home.
2 very quick questions. First of all, that Ticket to Work, how is the government viewing it? How are they looking at it? Is this just an opportunity to see if you can work? Or is this just an opportunity to see how well you can do with taking on something? A lot of times it has to do with how it's being viewed by those that are about the program.
Okay, so I can't speak to that. I can tell you what my position is. Social Security Administration deals with vocational rehab. Vocational rehabilitation is in every state and in many, many cities, and they assess whether or not you can work or not work. That assesses your functional limitations, your cognitive limitations, your ability to perform work, and then on a sustained basis. When it comes to the ticket to work, the real reason that it was put in place was to try, and I think that's going to become the trend, where people that are disabled are still able to work. Because for Social Security, remember, it's 0 or 100% disability. There's nothing in the middle. So they're trying to assess, maybe if you can work 15 hours a week, you're bringing in some income, and you should not be penalized for it. The way it's interpreted by the state, okay? It's still not at the federal government level. And I say that because we take cases nationwide, and I know that in Hawaii, for example, the ticket to work does not affect a client at all. You can receive the maximum ticket to work. The judges don't care. They understand the situation. No big deal. The ticket to work in Manhattan affects people quite a bit. But if you go into remote areas such as Syracuse and North New York, you won't have an issue. So it really is the interpretation, and the ticket to work is a separate program. It's a state program, not federal. The question is, how does the federal interpret the state?
Okay, second question. I know you mentioned before someone asked about saving. Are you penalized for saving money? They mentioned the trust. Basically, you need to talk to a financial planner for that.
No.
Just to know, or
No.
is something you could do on your own?
No. Financial planners will charge you a lot of money, and then they will ask me questions. So try to just ask attorneys that deal with Social Security the questions that pertain to Social Security, because income may or may not matter in your case, and a special needs trust may or may not be required. So you can spend thousands of dollars unnecessarily.
So it sounds like there's a lot of hotshot judges out there that are really trying to crack down on people on disability and stuff. Is there a list online that shows us what judges take bribes?
So Social Security disability judges are known as administrative law judges. They are not appointed like federal judges by the president, and they are not elected officials. They are federal workers, and they would probably gladly accept a bribe, but they're really federal workers. So it's really, I've found, and I'm talking since well before 1992, because I've been sitting in hearings since I was 8 or 9 years old. So I will tell you that the judge's predisposition is what makes them tick at a hearing. How liberal they are, how their personal connections have been with their friends and family, that will make a person decide, and how their own health has been. That makes their impact. Even the most disliked ALJs by me personally, the most disliked, I would tell you, they don't take bribes. They're just disliked, and they have no feelings, and they're sitting on a high horse, and God bless them, they've never been sick, or they forget what it's like, and they make it their life mission to make your life miserable. Yes.
Okay. My question, for a patient who has MS and not necessarily following the protocol of the doctor as far as seeing them consistently and or taking the alternative or holistic method for MS, how is that looked upon as far as the Social Security office, as far as you receiving the SSI or the SSDI? Because for some reason, some of us don't follow the total protocol as we should. As we should. And Okay, okay. And we do what some of the things a medical doctor may say, but you have other reasons that you may temporarily be going between drugs, meaning one program to another, or you just decide that you're not going to participate in the medical treatments because you don't want to.
I don't have a lot of time, but that is the best question, okay? I'm going to be really quick and to the point. Holistic treatment, acupuncture, massages, chiropractors up to a few years ago were all viewed as manipulations, ways to resolve your pain, but not cure you and not stabilize you. So they could say that if you're not following the protocol the doctor that's recommending, you can be denied benefits. And you can be cut off benefits. So if a doctor's saying this will help you and you're choosing not to do it, you're no different than a diabetic eating sugar or than an alcoholic drinking or than a person who does not want to improve themselves. But that is the most interesting question. And if you go on the MS Views and News, you will hear many times the question posed, many times the answer given. They are additional manipulations that can help you and make you feel better, but they do not substitute.
Recently, I lost my daughter in death, and I got money from the accident. I got money from it, and now I'm trying to make sure that if I get the money and I use the money towards myself and doing things that I want to do. Like now I have to go to New Jersey because my mother's sick and I got to get on the plane. So what if someone says, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that, and she doesn't need to get benefits anymore? Is that something that can happen to me?
So it depends on the kind of benefits that you're going to get or that you're receiving. So if you're receiving SSI, then you need to speak to an attorney. Are you receiving SSI or social or disability insurance benefits? We don't often know what we're getting.
I don't know what I'm getting.
How much money are you receiving a month?
I receive like $1,200
Okay,
a month.
so you're fine. Based on the amount that you're receiving, if it's over the minimum poverty level, I think it's $776 a month. If you're receiving more than that, you're receiving it based on the work you put into the system, based on your own money. Any monies you get, the same question I had, will not affect you. You don't have to worry about putting it in a trust or anything else. You do have to worry about social media still. Nobody's tracking you going into an airplane and this kind of stuff, but you just want to be aware of what you tell your doctors, what they write on their notes, etc. Yeah.
And my capacity to do things, because I worked for a long time.
Right.
But I was having a good time, but I couldn't work anymore. So that really...
So those records that you have are very instrumental on reviews. So when Social Security says, I'm going to request your medical records, I'm going to look and see whether or not your condition has improved. If they're showing that you're came into the money and that you're doing this and you're caretaking for your mother, it's all what you say to your doctors, how much you're putting out there. That can bite you in the tush later on. However, if you keep going to your doctor and complaining about how you feel and why you're going there in the first place and don't have to talk about extracurricular activities, you're going to be okay.
All right.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it for Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. I have to thank the company that gave us the sponsorship and the support to do today's program. This is called a Compass to Care. And so you saw the compass, all right? And we talked about different things. But the organization or the company that gave us the support to do this is Sanofi-Genzyme. I didn't get to say it at the beginning. I'd like you all to thank them, all right?